Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Juno. For my new subscribers, welcome to the Given to Give family. It's good to have you here. Thank you for subscribing. I hope this channel will be a blessing to you, and I look forward to interacting with you in the comments section. If you wish to reach me privately, what I'll be doing moving forward is leaving my email, my Given to Give email address in the description box for you to be able to email me or whatever it is. But today I wanted to just bring you a word of encouragement, and hopefully this will be something that will bless you as we begin this new year. Our story will really focus on the story of Rachel and Leah. Yes, it's not a love, okay, it's a love story between Rachel, Leah, and Jacob, but we're not talking about that today. We're talking about something completely different. So if you would just follow with me, we'll first look at our Bibles in Genesis chapter 25, verse 31. That's our verse for today. And Jacob said, "Sell me this day thy birthright." And Esau said, "Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me?" And Jacob said, "Swear to me this day." And he swore unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So, for most of you that know of the story of Rachel and Leah, you know these are two sisters who ended up marrying the same man. And this man, unfortunately, was tricked, of course, into the marriage with his older sister Leah, who he did not love. He loved and he preferred Rachel from the very first day that he saw her. People say, I guess it was love at first sight, if you believe in that. And, you know, when you read the story of Rachel and Jacob, you know, every single girl, as long as you're a female, you've wanted to be Rachel. Let's be honest. We all want that man who's going to work 14 years for us and put up with maybe an overbearing uncle or family member, you know? And I've always wanted to be Rachel for the longest time that I can remember. I've always admired their love story. And I never really liked Leah being in the picture. I was like, oh, what is she doing there, you know? But as I was reading this story, God opened my eyes to a side of the story that just showed how compassionate he was to Leah, and that really was something that I wanted to share with you. This woman is in a marriage whereby she's not really loved. She knows she's the least favorite or the second choice. She knows that, you know, her sister is preferred above her. And at some point in the story of Rachel and Leah, it reached a point whereby Leah had to actually, she traded mandrakes, which was basically some fruit, to have a night with Jacob. She went to Jacob to meet him as he was coming home and said, "Tonight you are sleeping in my tent. I've traded you for mandrakes and whatnot." But I can only imagine what being in a loveless marriage like that can do to somebody. Being in a marriage whereby you're not desired can do. And not that alone, but knowing that there's somebody else that all that affection and love that you're craving is going to. That was the situation Leah found herself in. If you're someone who doesn't believe in divorce, you can only imagine having to bear with that until death do you both part. Based off of the verse we just read, we noticed that we read a scene whereby Jacob was Esau, Jacob's brother, was selling his birthright to Jacob. I wanted to touch on this a little because it covers a lot of ground in the story. A lot of people feel like the birthright was really just basically the father pronouncing blessing on the son, and that's it, and maybe the son having a huge portion of the inheritance, that mean property or whatever it is, that would be remaining. But it was deeper than that. But the birthright from the very beginning had always been something that God designed to indicate who would be through whom the son of God will come from, like in terms of lineage. So in this case, God chose Jacob to be the one who whom to be the lineage through which Christ would come from. And when Jacob found himself married to two women, one of them, their sons, would be the one who would carry on the lineage in terms of Christ coming through them. And obviously they both knew this, because they're married to a man who basically was willing to lose everything in order to acquire that birthright. So obviously they knew the story as to why he ran away and why he was where he was in terms of his situation. So here we have a situation whereby God starts to bless Leah with children, and Rachel, God shut her womb. And I feel like to an extent that was God being merciful to Leah to a huge extent. God is blessing Leah with children, and with every child that Leah has, she has an expectancy to it. Like, for example, when she had Reuben was her firstborn. She said, I now have a son, my husband will love me. She would put an expectation behind each son she had. With Levi, she said, now my husband will be joined unto me. And despite all that, Jacob's heart was still with Rachel. And we see God doing something that I was like, wow, Lord, like, you are no respecter of persons. Like, you are just in all your ways. God did something for Leah that I thought really just covered a huge, which just really went above and beyond her expectation. And that was to bless her by choosing her to be the lineage through which Christ would come from. And if you know Leah's sons, their names, one of Leah's sons was Judah. That was the tribe through which Christ came from, the tribe of Judah. Can you believe that? She never got to have the love of the man she really wanted, but God blessed her far abundantly and in ways that she probably did not expect. And we see towards the end of their life, Jacob, I think, started to realize later on that, his affection for Leah changed, I feel. Because you see him towards the end of his life desiring and asking his sons to bury him next to Leah, the way Abraham and Sarah were buried next to each other. And this story spoke to me in a way which made me focus on those people that are overlooked, those people that are underappreciated because of sometimes maybe not a fault of their own. In this case, Leah wasn't someone who is described as being attractive or desirable in the Bible, even when they describe her. And there are people who I know that the world does not give them any attention or any second thought because of maybe their situation or whatever the case may be. Some people are from not so well-to-do families, and because of that, in society they are treated poorly. Or some people, maybe even the case of Leah, they're not as appealing to the world's standards of beauty these days. You know what the world considers beautiful these days is ridiculous. And there are so many people who are underlooked, people who in class maybe they are not doing so well, not because they're not trying their best, they're doing the best that they can, but it's just not adding up, it's just not connecting, and they're overlooked. They're considered as dumb, they're considered as the ones that will be left behind in society, who will not go far in life. I just want you to know that God has a different plan for you. You might be overlooked by everybody else, but God is not overlooking you. He has not overlooked you.
The way that Leah was overlooked by Jacob
and was undesired by her own husband, and thought that by giving sons and bearing more children that the husband Jacob would finally cleave to her, and that didn't happen until later on in life. God still did not overlook her. You are not overlooked at all. It doesn't matter what situation you're in. I want you to know that God is not overlooking you. I was in a situation whereby, having messed up in life, I was the screw up, when it comes to life, in terms of academics, in terms of just my life in general. I just messed up. And I remember somebody asking me, what are your plans now? And I remember telling them, I want to continue working right now, and then study clinical psychology, masters in clinical psychology, and this and this and this. And the two people just sat there, looked at me, and they laughed. You know, at that time I'd already done my bachelor's, but I still wasn't looked at as somebody who would ever make anything out of their life. But just because of my track record and how I was just basically somebody who had messed up. And but I'm saying all this to say that, you know, a few years ago I was praying and I was asking God, like, to really just change the course of, you know, my career, and to help me have, you know, to help make something out of my life, because I could see all my friends progressing in life and I was basically stuck in a situation I didn't want to be in. And I felt so ashamed, I felt so embarrassed. I just felt like that girl that, you know, graduated, of course, and was in school, but the girl that never amounted to anything. But God really turned things around for me, and He gave me far above what I expected. And He has turned my life, you know, into something that a lot of people sometimes look at me and they go like, you know what, they probably didn't even think I would make it this far. Later, you know, not just in terms of being here, like living here today, but just also have turned a different course in life. And that isn't because of anything that I did, because I literally could not have done any of this by myself. You know, God blessing me with a good job, God blessing me to get my life in order from being this screwed up person that I was, who was drinking, smoking, and partying, to just getting it together. It had nothing to do with anything that I did. It was God. And He did what only He could do. And I want you to know that if you're overlooked in life, for whatever reason, in whatever area, there is hope for you. God is not overlooking you. God has not forgotten you. And the Bible tells us that God chooses the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. He does. I've seen Him do that over and over again. He will take the most lowly person and put them in a situation whereby everybody around them will be like, what, this person, you know? Or He would take even, like, for example, Christ. Christ had nothing outwardly, appearance-wise, anything that would be desired off of Him. And that's why people, the Pharisees, a lot of people overlooked Him and didn't think He would be the one who was promised the Messiah. But He was. We think of David, a young boy who, out of all his brothers, he had older brothers who were tall and kingly looking, but God moved over them and said, no, that's not them. And He chose David, someone who, you know, Samuel was like, Lord, are you sure that's him? So yes, God can use you, and be encouraged, my brothers and my sisters. God has not overlooked you. He did not overlook Leah, despite all that she was going through in her marriage, despite being unloved by this man who she yearned to be loved by. God did not overlook her, and God is not overlooking you as well. So be encouraged, and just know that God has good plans for you. Jeremiah 29 says that, I know the plans that I have for you. I hope you can take that verse and claim it. You know, plans to prosper you and to give you an expected end. You know, He who began a good work in you is faithful to complete it. He's going to complete all that He has done, He has started in you. He is the author and He's the finisher of every good thing that He starts in our lives. And even selectively, whatever He's begun, even in your life, it can be academically, it can be career-wise, it can be relationships that you have, you know, whatever He started, He's going to finish it. I just hope you know just how the love of God and how much He just wants us to have a good future. So be blessed, and I hope to see you next time for from Given to Give Ministry. Bye.